When Uber and Lyft launched, they promised a transportation revolution. No more waiting for taxis, no more awkward phone calls to cab companies. No more wondering if your driver would show up or if you'd be charged $47 for going 3 miles. Instead, it was cheaper, faster, safer, better for drivers, better for riders, and disruption for good. Except, it wasn't. It turns out that disruption just means breaking the rules until somebody makes you stop, or until the IPO goes through. Welcome back to Dad Ruins Everything. Please take a second to like this video and subscribe to my channel. While it's charming to be a tiny YouTuber, I would like to graduate to being a slightly less tiny YouTuber someday. With that out of the way, last time I ruined chiropractic care, a profession that started with a ghost whispering into a grocer's ear. That's really the chiropractic origin story. If you haven't seen it, the video is linked in the top right corner. Today I ruined something more modern, ride-sharing. You know, the thing that we used to call getting a ride until someone decided to throw an app together and get a billion-dollar valuation on it. Let's dive in. Remember when Uber used to be way cheaper than a cab? That wasn't economics. That was venture capital. Uber and Lyft lost billions per year subsidizing rides to crush the competition and to build market dominance. That's not a sustainable business. It's a predatory pricing strategy. Once taxis were decimated and customers were hooked, prices went up. Way up. Surge pricing became the norm. Fees were added for everything. Wait times increased. Driver earnings? They stayed flat or went down. If you're wondering why your $12 ride is now $37 with a $3 safe rides fee and a $6 temporary fuel adjustment, it's because ride-sharing isn't cheap. Some of these fees are from municipalities trying to claw back some of the revenue that they've lost, while others are just surfacing the real cost to the riders now that the honeymoon is over. And you were just the product being sold to investors. Let's talk about the people actually doing the driving. Uber and Lyft like to call them partners or independent contractors. They claim it's all about flexibility and freedom. Be your own boss, set your own hours. Except, drivers have no control over pricing. They can be deactivated without notice. The algorithm decides what rides they get, where they go, and what they earn. They have no benefits, no paid time off, no insurance, and no recourse. As a bonus, they have little control over pricing, destination, or customer quality. That's not independence. It's algorithmic management with none of the protections of real employment. Drivers are responsible for their car, gas, maintenance, insurance, healthcare, and taxes. If you add all that up, many drivers earn less than minimum wage. The average lifespan of an Uber driver? Just a few months, because once they realize the math, they quit. Like a pyramid scheme though, the setup may actually work for some, but they're the exception and not the rule. Ride-sharing didn't just change how we get around, it fundamentally broke several systems. It gutted taxi industries in cities around the world. It increased traffic in urban centers. A lot. It cannibalized public transit, especially in cities that already had underfunded systems. It moved risk and ancillary charges to individuals and shifted costs off of corporate balance sheets. Studies show that ride-sharing increased total vehicle miles traveled in cities like San Francisco and New York. That's right, more pollution, more traffic congestion, longer commutes for all, and less transit ridership. But hey, at least you can get a Toyota Camry at 2 a.m., am I right? Next, because corporations weren't already collecting enough telemetry off of everything you do, it's good to know that ride-sharing is no different. Uber and Lyft track everything. When you ride, it collects your pickup and drop-off locations, the time of day, your rating, your payment behavior. And when you drive, it gets GPS data, audio recordings, dashcam footage, algorithmic performance scoring. Your entire experience is mediated by an opaque algorithm with zero transparency. And when there's a dispute, suddenly Big Brother leaves the chat, and you're probably not going to have any luck finding a human to talk to. Fun. Also, let's not forget the data breaches and safety issues, because every few years, one of these companies leaves millions of user records unsecured. Oopsie. Uber and Lyft love to tell you that ride-sharing is safe, but the fine print says otherwise. You're not in a commercial vehicle, your driver isn't professionally licensed, the insurance coverage? Patchy at best, and only active during certain parts of the ride. If there's an accident or an assault, you may find yourself in legal limbo, bouncing between the driver's personal insurance and the company's limited policy. And let's not ignore the well-documented rise in rider and driver assaults, many of which go underreported because ride-sharing platforms aren't required to publish comprehensive safety data. It's not just sketchy, it's structurally unsafe. Now to the greenwashing. Not every rider cares about this, but many have been led to believe that ride-sharing is a green option. After all, both Uber and Lyft love to talk about sustainability. Electric vehicles, carbon offsets, eco-friendly rides. But independent studies show that ride-sharing increases emissions. Why is that? Well, because there are more cars on the road, there are more miles driven between pickups, and there's less use of public transportation. Offsetting carbon is great PR, but the real-world data shows that ride-sharing is not green. Not even close. All of this, the predatory pricing, the gig exploitation, the regulatory avoidance, was done for one reason: the IPO. Uber raised over $25 billion before it ever turned a profit. When it finally went public, early investors cashed out. Did drivers see any of that money? No. Did cities that had to deal with the aftermath get reimbursed? Also, no. Uber and Lyft burned through billions in the pursuit of dominance, and when they got it, they passed on the cost to the riders, drivers, and cities. Classic playbook: privatize the upside, socialize the downside. Now it's time to talk about the elephant in the ride-sharing vehicle: self-driving cars. Uber and Lyft don't see drivers as partners. They see them as temporary. You see, ride-sharing services will eventually put the squeeze on everyone, not just the riders. From the very beginning, Uber's business model was built on replacing human drivers with autonomous vehicles. It's in their investor decks. It's in their public statements. Travis Kalanick, the founder of Uber, literally said the reason Uber was so expensive was, quote, because you're not just paying for the car, you're paying for the other dude in the car. That dude? The driver. And long term, they'd like them gone. It's not a secret. It's the plan. Now, the tech hasn't caught up yet. Waymo, Cruise, Zoox, and Motional are all working at it, and they're making progress. Even with that, full self-driving still has major safety, liability, and infrastructure hurdles. But make no mistake, drivers are a stopgap until the robots are ready. Every ride a human takes today is just buying time for the engineers. And when Skynet does go live, no benefits, no retirement, no severance. Just a pink slip, probably emailed. Because in the eyes of these companies, drivers are just squishy bots until they can source cheaper bots. Just to be clear, I've used, and will continue to use, Uber. I've also used Lyft, Grab, Ztrip, Waymo, Didi, and Bolt. The company I work for doesn't typically allow us to rent cars, and instead requires ride-sharing. Mom, the creative, uses Uber. Our daughters do too, when they're going out in the city. I'm not slamming the convenience of requesting a ride with an app. That part of it is great. It's also reassuring to see the route you're supposed to be on and to see the reviews of your driver. Fine-grained control over the vehicle and the experience are obviously improvements over hailed rides of the past. The problem is the difference between the fiction and the reality for drivers, riders, and the people profiting off of both. Ride-sharing isn't a tech revolution. It's a labor arbitrage hustle wrapped in a nice app. It doesn't empower drivers, it doesn't save riders money, doesn't help the environment, and it sure as hell doesn't deserve to be the future of transportation. So I hope ride-sharing is sufficiently ruined for you, or for someone you're about to forward this to that's currently waiting on their Uber X. If you found this video educational, entertaining, or just a little bit infuriating, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop your weirdest Uber story in the comments. Thanks for watching, and have an awesome surge-free day.